Oh, that doesn't look good.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for spending your lunch hour with us today. My name is Catherine Foster. I'm a senior planner at the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. Thrilled to be presenting in partnership with the LA Regional Collaborative for Climate Action and Sustainability, the UCLA Luskin Center for Innovation, and the Office of Environmental Health Hazard Assessment, or OEHHA, at CalEPA. The focus of our presentation today is on CalHeatScore. This is the fourth CalHeatScore webinar. Today we're looking specifically at CalHeatScore as an extreme heat planning resource. And we'll focus on how CalHeatScore can be integrated with extreme heat work across the state, regional, and local levels. We have 4 incredible speakers joining us today, and I'll give a quick introduction momentarily after I review our agenda. For the agenda, I want to flag that we do have interpretation available. Spanish interpretation for this webinar can be found by clicking on the interpretation button on the Zoom menu and clicking Spanish. Seleccione su idioma preferido, Spanish, usando el menú desplegable en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Dale clic a el botón que dice Mute Original Audio para silenciar el audio original. And I'll pause for just a moment for folks to get on the right translation channel. You're also welcome to ask questions in Spanish. We can do a reverse interpretation back to English, so please ask any questions in any language that you prefer. As mentioned, today we'll be looking at different components of extreme heat planning. So we have a presentation from Jenn Phillips at the California Natural Resources Agency to go over our extreme heat action plan. That's a collaborative effort between the Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation and the California Natural Resources Agency. We then have 3 presentations from grantees of the Extreme Heat and Community Resilience Program. We have a presentation by the City of Colusa, the County of Ventura, and Los Angeles, City of Los Angeles. And you'll see everyone's titles and screen shots here. I'm really excited to be having this presentation. Thank you again to our speakers for joining us. I'll now pass to Erin B to give a quick introduction to Jenn Phillips, and then we'll pass to Jenn for an overview of the Extreme Heat Action Plan.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I want to turn over to Jenn Phillips, who is the Assistant Secretary of Climate Change at the California Natural Resources Agency. She is the Senior Policy Advisor at the U.S. Climate Alliance and was previously Senior Scientist at the Governor's Office of Planning and Research, which is now the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation. Welcome, Jenn, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Erin, and thank you for organizing this great conversation. Hopefully you all can hear me okay and see my slides. But I just wanted to give a brief overview of California's Extreme Heat Action Plan and our process of developing our state's Extreme Heat Action Plan. Just a bit of framing before we hear from our excellent speakers ahead. So next slide, please. So we currently have our 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan. That is the plan you can find on our website, both on our California Natural Resources page and I suspect also on the LCI page. But just a little bit of background on the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan as we look forward to updating this plan in the year ahead. So the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan, I'm sorry, I'm seeing a message that folks can't hear me, but I'm going to keep going, assuming that others can hear me. The 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan provides a comprehensive set of all of the work that the state is doing to adapt and build resilience to extreme heat. It really outlines California's all-of-government approach to mitigating the many impacts of increasing average temperatures and heat waves. This 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan includes 4 tracks that organize all of the actions of the plan. Those tracks are focused on awareness, community response, the built environment, and nature-based solutions. This 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan was developed as part of the state's broader 2021 update of our California Climate Adaptation Strategy. And we did this because we really recognized that the state needed a standalone, updated, and integrated approach to addressing and tackling extreme heat. This 2022 plan really builds on some work that was done in 2020. Sorry, previous slide still. This plan builds on work that was done in 2013, a report from 2013 that was called Preparing California for Extreme Heat Guidance and Recommendation. So building on the foundation of the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan and in alignment with our broader resilience efforts across the state of California, the California Natural Resources Agency, where I work, and the Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation are coordinating the update of the 2026 Extreme Heat Action Plan. This is really aimed to build on, again, the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan and reflect what the state is currently doing to prepare Californians for extreme heat and tackle extreme heat. So it will really reflect priorities across many of our state agencies, departments, boards, and commissions. And this update that is due in 2026 is called for in Senate Bill 306, which was signed in 2023. And we hope that it can really kind of help us all across California stay focused and strategic and really data-driven on the work we need to do on tackling extreme heat. Next slide, please. So as we were developing the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan, and as we go forward in updating that plan in 2026, it really will represent an all-of-government approach to tackling extreme heat and to extreme heat planning. In 2022, we worked with all of these agencies on the screen here, and we suspect to obviously continue to do that in 2026. So, you know, while the California Natural Resources Agency and the California Governor's Office of Land Use and Climate Innovation are coordinating this update, we are doing it on behalf of the state of California and the Newsom administration. So it is aimed to be sort of a centralized spot that you can see the work that California at the state level is really leading and thinking about in the years ahead in the face of extreme heat. Next slide, please. So as the state prepared the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan, there was a significant amount of engagement and outreach to really inform that plan. This included 10 regional workshops, tons of different consultations with California Native American tribes, and 3 different versions of an extreme heat workshop series. The team at LCI and I and others across CNRA are really hoping to continue to build on this engagement and outreach, and I'll speak a little bit about that in a couple minutes. Next slide. So in doing that engagement in 2022, that engagement with communities really helped both CNRA and LCI identify sort of the main priorities of the state's extreme heat work. These areas on the screen, community services, public awareness, the built environment, and nature-based solutions, really led to the eventual development of the 4 tracks in the current 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan. Next slide. So I'm just going to quickly preview these these 4 tracks, and again, hopefully we can drop a link to the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan so you can follow along. But again, there's 4 action tracks in the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan. Track 1 is build public awareness and notification. And in order to, advance that track, there's associated goals, and then under the goals, actions for advancing track 1. Track 2 of the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan is all about strengthening community services and response. And similarly, there's 3 goals and associated actions to advance that track. Next slide. Track 3 is focused on increasing the resilience of our built environment. So several goals to advance that track. I'm not reading out all of the goals here, but you can see them here and you can see them in the plan. And then track 4 is really focused on scaling and utilizing nature-based solutions for our extreme heat work. And there's several goals there to advance that track. So just wanting to say here that, a lot of the engagement and what we heard as we were developing the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan was sort of bucketed in these 4 areas that became the tracks of the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan. And as we're thinking through the development of the 2026 Extreme Heat Action Plan, we don't expect to diverge from these tracks. We think these are, really important ways to frame the state's extreme heat action work. And we'll just make sure that we are representing all that the state is doing under these 4 tracks to better plan, prepare, and protect people in the face of extreme heat. Next slide, please. So just wanted to show you again, this is a screenshot on the left of the cover of the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan. And as you're looking at that 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan, recognizing we're really aiming to simply build on the work in that plan as we update it in 2026, I just wanted to quickly kind of orient you about how to read and navigate the 2022 Extreme Heat Action Plan. So each of those tracks, action tracks, include multiple types of actions. There are established actions, and those include things that are underway, of course, across the state, including those actions that were recommended in even that 2013 report that I mentioned at the top. Also included are newly recommended actions. That is sort of talking about where the state is going and what we're hoping to do to really strengthen resilience to extreme heat. As suspected, the established actions have really already been initiated. The state is tackling those to address extreme heat. And there are, in many cases, notes about sort of the implementation and the progress of that work underway. So just a little bit about sort of how the tracks are divided up into those 4 tracks, goals, and then both established actions, work that is already underway in the state of California, and recommended actions to really highlight where we're aiming to go with our work on extreme heat. Next slide. So as mentioned, this update of the Extreme Heat Action Plan is called for in Senate Bill 306, again, which was signed in 2013. And it specifies that we need to update California's Extreme Heat Action Plan every 3 years. And the next iteration of that plan will be published July 1st, 2026. So this diagram here is just sort of outlining our update process and really highlighting here that this is an iterative cycle with actions reoccurring every 3 years. So 2026, 2029, and so on and so forth. So we're really in the process right now of, we've done some early engagement on the Extreme Heat Action Plan, and we're now internally starting to draft that Extreme Heat Action Plan and hoping to put the draft out in early 2026 to get further public comment and feedback so that we can finalize the extreme heat action plan for 2026 by July of 2026. So I think those are all of my slides. I think I have maybe one more quick slide and then I'll pass it over to our speakers. Just wanted to note, because I know we have so many experts and thought leaders on the line here, but we really see sort of community engagement and feedback and outreach built into this update process. So as mentioned, we've done some early engagement in this past summer before even drafting the extreme heat action plan, to make sure people are aware that the state has an extreme heat action plan and to get feedback on sort of what's working, what should be done differently as we prepare for 2026. We'll also be doing much more engagement and outreach and community meetings and workshops in the spring of 2026 after we release a public comment draft of the Extreme Heat Action Plan. Once the 2026 Extreme Heat Action Plan is published in the summer of 2026, we really hope to kind of highlight what's in the plan, how people can think of it as you know, a model for different, you know, levels of planning at the community and local level, and also communicate more clearly in California, sort of how are we doing, what progress we're making on protecting people, places in the face of extreme heat. So I'll stop there and look forward to hearing the discussion and answering any questions. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's really exciting to learn more about what is happening on the state level. I would like to also turn over to our speakers who can speak about municipal and county level actions on extreme heat and incorporating CalHeatScore into these actions. So I would like to turn it over to Sadie Boggs Ash, who is a project manager and grant strategist for the city of Colusa. She leads multi-million-dollar initiatives in infrastructure, housing, and community resilience, as well as being a leader on the Colusa County Arts Council. Thank you so much, Sadie.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to get my screen over here. All right. Of course, it worked perfectly a moment, 15 minutes ago, and now I apologize. I'll kind of talk through the first couple slides if that's okay. So when it comes up, we can keep moving. My name
It did
is...
work perfectly a few minutes ago. I could also pull up your slides as a backup.
Okay, yeah, do you want to try that? I apologize, everyone.
Oh, I'm very happy to do so.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. So my name is Sadie Ash. I am with the city of Colusa. If you are unfamiliar with Colusa, we are about an hour north of Sacramento, in the heart of the valley. We are an agricultural community. Go ahead, next slide. So for Colusa, extreme heat isn't new, but our response is. And several years ago, when I moved back to Colusa to raise my family, not a lot had changed. I'm sure a lot of people that live in rural communities or return to their hometown feel that and see that. However, I wanted to make a difference. I had a group of peers that wanted to make a difference, and we were at this place where there was kind of a passing of the baton to the next generation. So with the support of LCI and our Extreme Heat Plan grant, we are able to really take that baton and start making changes to how we respond to extreme heat. Our average summer temperatures, we hover about 109, June, July, August. That has grown in the last couple of years. We start seeing days over 100 in May and all the way out until October. Next slide, please. In the winter of 2020, I started working for the city of Colusa, working on a SEDS report. And part of that SWOT analysis was looking at not only our housing, but what our economic development need was. We have businesses closing. We have 7 parks that weren't being used. We had all of our residents leaving the city of Colusa during breaks, on weekends, and just not participating in the community that they live in and that their kids go to school in. So a large discussion was, how do we change that? And one of the topics was, we need to make the quality of life in Colusa outside of a home even better. We also, being an ag community, we have a large ag labor population. And how do you translate, coming home and then participating in the heat? We wanted to decrease our emergency calls for heat-related illness, increase our park usage in our afternoons and early evenings, and keep our residents shopping local, walking local, and participating local. Next slide, please. So when we really started to think of what heat planning is for the city of Colusa, it literally started with a bunch of us dancing in the park. The city of Colusa is a Levitt Amp city, and we host 10 free concerts in the middle of summer at Veterans Memorial Park. We have had summer concerts in this park for 20 plus years. And with this new surge in funding and opportunity to bring in artists, there was a lot of pressure to really make sure that the community joined us every Thursday night. We had to think about, what does that look like? How do we get our residents out there? So we did little tricks. We would push shows out till the sun went down. So it was a little bit cooler. We would offer free water. And then the second summer, we added misters into our park, and we just ran it during setup. We turned it off, and that made all of the difference in the world. So we started saying, okay, well, if we can cool this one event off, if we can cool this one park off once a week, what can we do at a city level to carry this energy throughout the community? Then we started really laying the groundwork for Heat Safe Colusa and how we can improve all of our shared spaces. Next slide. So we had to kind of turn this insight that we had collected into a plan. And living in a rural community like Colusa, the thought is that we are forgotten, that we are not a part of California, that what happens in Los Angeles or Sacramento doesn't apply to us. It's different. So we needed to really make sure our messaging, and we continue to make sure our messaging is sharing with our residents that the power is already here. And it is the city's job to take what our community knows, what it needs, and lift those ideas into action. Next slide. The biggest challenge and hurdle that we have with creating a strategy and a plan in regards to extreme heat and other climate issues is seeing our city differently. We've really had to peel back the layers and look at some information that hasn't been great, that isn't fun. It's not all balloons and candy, and really get down into it and say, what are our concerns, and where is this really hurting us that maybe we didn't want to look at before? We also have very honest conversations that heat resiliency is not built in a single season. It's not built in a meeting or in one activity, but that we need to continue to make small steps and push through to keep going. And we don't want to quit. With each tree planted, with each bench we add in, each shade structure we put in over a playground, and each cooling center we ramp up on, we are making a cooler and fairer Colusa, and we celebrate those. And that has been one of the biggest positive and momentum building things, is reminding the community. It's very easy when you work in city government to kind of just get one task done and move on to the next. Be sure that you are celebrating everything, even if it is, a tree. Our Rotary planted the 100th tree in a year, and we had a celebration for it, because that matters. And that is a reminder to people that their community is doing something and that they are wanted and they can be a part of it. Next slide, please. And local voices, we are really pushing on our community to participate. This has been something in a small community where you get the same 12 people that show up to every community meeting, every council meeting, and kind of drive the conversation and the results. We are personally pushing through that. I am making phone calls. I am personally inviting people to join commissions, committees, attend meetings because I want their input. We have also, as a community, severely lacked on reaching our Hispanic community by not offering anything in Spanish or in Hindi. So we are leaving about 58% of our population out of the conversation, and that has to change, and that is changing. We want everyone to be a part of this, because if they have a part in this and it's personal, they are going to believe in it. They are going to help implement all of the changes that we can make in the future. Next slide, please. So heat resilience is rural resilience. Everything that we do in a small town of 6,500 people touches everyone, whether they participate in it or not, whether they understand the program or not. Anything we do affects everyone. And it's not just about weather. It's not just about saying, oh, it's hot, I'm going to run the air conditioner today. It is taking care of our community that maybe doesn't have a vacation home to go to, or the time and resources to take a vacation and go to a cooler part of the state. So we are really just pushing to use CalHeatScore, to use the grant that we have so generously been awarded, to make sure that we are creating awareness and putting that awareness and ideas into action and continuing to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. That was absolutely wonderful. So I'm very excited to see what is happening in Colusa. And I am also very happy to introduce you to Talia Barrera from Ventura County. She has experience in both the private and public sectors, and she currently serves as the Program Operations Manager for the County of Ventura's Sustainability Division.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Loud and clear. Thank
Great.
you.
Okay, so you're going to be sharing my PowerPoint, right? Or should I share my screen?
Could you share your screen so that,
Sure.
remember there was an edit that you made that you wanted to share with everybody?
Yes, sorry. Let me go ahead and do this. And can everyone see my screen okay? Is it working? Good. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, everybody. My name is Talia with the County of Ventura, and thank you so much for the opportunity to connect and share a little bit about our plan and what we're working on. A lot of things that were shared about the city of Colusa are definitely very near and dear to our hearts here in Ventura County, just because we fall into the same category of the farm worker community. So our County of Ventura is leading the Heat Action Plan project, which is going to be built around community needs assessment model. Is going to be guided by local data, stakeholder feedback, and of course, all the outreach and commitment that we have to our population to provide input for what it is to come for, as part of the plan. Okay. So the first thing that we have identified under our work plan is to create a committee. The County of Ventura is well known, and we've included members of the community, local stakeholders, and community-based organizations that are actually very influential, and they're very trusted in our community. We've had the opportunity to work with these community-based organizations in the past with COVID and other efforts, and we have the ability to work together and make sure that we provide some good good input from those influential organizations. As part of the committee, we're also including our Ventura County Public Health Care Agency. They are going to play a central role for this project as well. And all the community-based organizations, our county healthcare agency, they're all very deeply connected with the community. We're trying to engage already as it is. So the county is really in a very good place to do the successful partnership with the organizations where we're going to be working together and building on that foundation to create a stronger and more trusted community engagement as a whole. Our goal is to make sure that the plan is effective, that it is very much community driven, that is culturally relevant to the community that we're serving, and that is shaped by the people that it's meant to reach. What does that mean? Well, we all know that heat affects everyone and that some communities face much higher risks. This can be due to barriers in accessing resources or other factors that have already been mentioned and they're very robust, and we understand all the dynamics of what makes it very difficult to stay safe. As part of this project for Ventura County, we've identified specific vulnerable populations, and we're going to be focusing our efforts in the unhoused individuals, our seniors, our outdoor workers, and especially our farm workers here in Ventura County. Why our farm workers? Because our farm worker population is very high in Ventura County. They are also very highly vulnerable and face challenges of losing more work hours than anyone else during extreme heat for obvious reasons, working outdoors. Here in our region, many farm workers speak indigenous languages, multiple different indigenous languages with variants under those indigenous languages. And that's why working with some of our strong partners, such as MyCop and others, are very instrumental in helping us with the outreach to this community. This makes it harder for them to get information and important resources about heat warnings and safety information. And this has been known for a long time. And we learned a lot of our lessons throughout COVID when we were we had to adapt and engage immediately to help the community understand all the risks and the dynamics of that COVID era. On top of that, their work and housing conditions often increase their risk, and many don't have access to the resources they need to stay informed and safe. So just to share some perspective, there are farmers in Ventura County that are among the leading producers of fruits and vegetables in the world. And that is why keeping farming and farm workers safe in Ventura County is just so important as part of this plan. That's part of what makes Ventura County so unique. And the challenges we face are different from other regional areas around us. So this committee that we're establishing and this plan are all about coming together with the community for the community. So that's why the engagement is going to be so robust and so important to help people identify what it is that they're facing, what they need, and how we can implement this generous plan. So we're also going to work on developing a baseline heat risk assessment. This is going to help us to better understand local vulnerabilities as we set the foundation for all the future planning. In this first phase, we're going to be focusing on identifying local current heat conditions and in some of the priority areas throughout Ventura County. And as part of this process, we're going to begin identifying potential heat adaptation strategies that can be included in the plan. We're going to use multiple different tools and resources and research information, et cetera. But at the top of the list, we're going to definitely tap into our Ventura County Public Health Climate and Health Dashboard, which was recently published by our local public health agency. And of course, needless to say, we're going to be utilizing CalHeatScore. The site will be instrumental because it has more localized data forecasting heat impacts by zip code, which is going to be very helpful in our local area, our regional opportunity to target those specific populations. It provides information on cooling centers across the region. So definitely another resource that's going to come in very, very handy for this project. We're also going to be conducting a robust outreach and heat education and engagement strategy. This project is a community-first approach. So something we're calling engagement ecosystem. The idea will be to work hand in hand with our local partners, local community-based organizations. Those that are subject matter experts that we've worked with them in the past and they've been very successful in reaching the community, not only the seniors, the unhoused, but again, especially farm worker community, including our local farm worker resource program. This is going to be very helpful to reach out to the community, to ensure that people's voices are heard and they're respected, and that everything we do is culturally responsive and accessible, especially to farm workers. We're also going to develop a community heat survey to develop a better understanding people's living and working conditions, their awareness to heat risks, how they protect themselves, any heat-related vulnerabilities. The survey will ask about access to air conditioning, their work hours and breaks during extreme heat weather, any experiences with heat-related illnesses, and any knowledge of our local resources like cooling centers, etc. So this is going to create a framework for us to understand what the community already knows and how we can develop this robust plan with information and feedback from the community. In addition, we're also going to be conducting focus groups to dive deeper and hear directly from the community members, as we want to be sure that these solutions truly reflect the local needs. As part of the project, we're going to be offering some incentives so that they can come into the meetings, such as childcare, some stipends, etc. So just getting a little creative to help the community be engaged and get feedback and have a community-based approach. Oh, sorry about that. Need to go forward, not backwards. So, of course, as part of this project, we're going to be doing farm worker outreach with customized messaging. Our partners will design and develop messages in Spanish, in Mixteco, and Zapoteco. I know the city of Colusa was mentioning that there are challenges sometimes connecting with the community that speaks Spanish or other languages in the local area. We have those expertise with our community-based organizations, with our partners from Human Services Agency, our Farm Worker Resource Program. So we're very grateful, very lucky to have those trusted messengers that are going to do community engagement and develop outreach materials to engage the community in their own language. We're going to utilize different channels of communication like social media, radio, WhatsApp applications, all those resources that we know are very crucial and that engage the community as well, such as promotoras, promotores who already have those strong relationships in the community. And as part of the project, we're also going to be distributing extreme heat cooling kits with items like cooling bandanas, electrolyte water bottles, sunscreen, N95 masks, and educational materials. We're going to also focus especially on farm workers and field supervisors, helping them recognize the signs of heat illnesses, understanding heat safety practices, and know the rights, also maybe helping them understand the rights to get shade and water and rest breaks as well. And finally, we're also going to develop a framework for a heat alert system for farm workers. We're going to collaborate with key stakeholders to define what this system should include and how it will work in building on our lessons learned from a previous project that we had, a wildfire text alert system that we utilized in the past. and we're going to coordinate closely.
Talia, I hate to interrupt, but I want to make sure that we've got enough time for Marta's presentation and some Q&A at the end.
Okay, I'm getting ready to wrap it up.
Thank you.
So thank you. And so finally, we're just going to focus on identifying our Ventura County final action plan, all the data we collect. We are going to draft a heat adaptation report, and all of this will lead to our county heat action plan, plan grounded on community input. And we just want to make sure that all the information is put into one plan, and all the tools that we get are help us to stay safe when heat turns extreme in our area. So thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to share our plan with you.
Thank you so much. This has been so valuable. And like my brain is running off in all sorts of directions, but I absolutely want to welcome Marta Segura, who is one of only 10 chief heat officers worldwide. She is the Chief Heat Officer and Director of Climate Emergency Mobilization for the City of Los Angeles. And I'm delighted to share her expertise with you.
Great. Well, first of all, thanks everyone. Yes, I'm the only West Coast Chief Heat Officer. The next closest one is in Arizona, whom I've learned a lot from, David Hondula. So thank you everyone for inviting me, the Governor's Office of Land Use Climate Innovation, LARC, and OEHHA. I think what I'm going to do is, instead of going over our heat action plan, which I actually, think everybody else did such a great job of, I'm going to go more into how we're connecting CalHeatScore to our risk awareness and an alert system, and the other tools that we've developed along the way. Just so everybody knows, we are a grant recipient and we're very grateful. We're about to launch the formal process, I think in December. It's going to include a community advisory committee, a city steering committee. We have great promotoras and community health educators that we will be involved in the process. But we're most excited about applying all of the lessons learned from the community research we've also done in the past. And I'll get into that a little bit more. In terms of the structure of our plan, and you can go to the next slide, that's okay. In terms of the structure of our plan, I'll just briefly say, we very similarly have followed the 4 tracks of the extreme heat plan from the state of California. And we've added one more, which is on tracking and accountability, because we did a little bit of research of why so many climate action plans fail. The reason that they fail is because there is no governance strategy, accountability strategy that's a whole of government approach, so that after the plan is written, there's actually metrics and goals that have a home and a department or various departments that are then tracking that and making that information public in some way, so that the public can see that the metrics that were created and established in the heat action and resilience plan, that's what we're calling ours, are then having some follow through. Because I think one huge advantage of having a heat action plan in your city or in your town is that not only does it create accountability, but it prioritizes it for your city or your region or your county, so that you can begin to shape your funding strategies around protecting your community from extreme heat and other related climate hazards. So when it is a visible talking point for your elected officials, for your mayor, for your emergency management department, and all the other departments that are going to have to shape their infrastructure and shape their policies to actually address extreme heat in a real way, having this plan and this, maybe a very collaborative governance system to track the progress is extremely important. And I think CalHeatScore will support cities not just to advance alerts to the most impacted communities. And here you see how in the city of LA, we've identified, UCLA has helped us identify some of the most impacted communities. And then we also mapped where the resources are. But I think going back to CalHeatScore, it's going to help us communicate to those vulnerable communities that you see with the red and the yellow and the dots on this map, what to do in advance of a heat wave arriving. I think we need to have more heat watches. Even if we don't know for sure it's going to be a heat wave that will impact the community, we can begin to tell the media there's a X possibility or 50% possibility there will be a heat wave. And this is the alert system that we now have that can tell us how to prepare. And I know there's plans for it to be in multiple languages. And that's really going to help the city of Los Angeles ensure that there's a universal system that conveys and communicates what to do in the event of different categories of extreme heat. So it's going to help our promotoras and our community health educators, our various city partners, various nonprofits, to have this way of having the same language and communicating the dangers and the risks of any oncoming extreme heat wave. And I also think it's going to help us in improving, achieving the goals of our heat action plan by targeting infrastructure investments that we really need in the most vulnerable communities that have been neglected or disinvested over the decades, whether it was due to redlining or because of some other reason. We can now prioritize those targeted infrastructure investments for those communities to ensure that we avoid these preventable injuries, these preventable deaths in our regions, in our cities. And so this CalHeatScore really does help us prioritize those communities. Next. And I want to show you something that we created. We had a county-wide system for identifying our cooling centers, but we didn't have a city system to identify other areas that are not specifically cooling centers or cooling shelters, but places people can go to cool off. Here you can see we identified where our libraries are, which are all activated cooling centers during a heat wave or during a storm. Our pools, our splash pads, our rec and park facilities, which are also activated during a heat wave to cool off, and hydration stations. I think the hydration stations might be the most interesting example I can share with you. Our public utility, the Department of Water and Power, purchases the hydration stations, installs them for us, and then city departments just agree to maintain them. So whether it's Department of Cultural Affairs, the Department of Rec and Parks, all of these different departments and libraries and other public facilities can adopt a hydration station given to them by our utility, as long as they sign the MOU that they will then maintain those hydration stations. So I'm happy to say that all of our libraries now have hydration stations. All of our parks have hydration stations. The challenge is obviously the maintenance. And I think that that's an area that we'd like to prioritize in the future is not only maintenance for our hydration stations, but maintenance for all of our amenities like pools, splash pads, misting stations, because the maintenance, we always have money for capital and infrastructure investments and to build, but then the maintenance fees fall off. So that's kind of a policy lesson I've heard over and over again, even with respect to trees, right? We plant the trees, but then we don't have the water to maintain the trees over the 5 years that are most critical for its development. And the reason I wanted to point this out is because we use this as an awareness tool, part of our heat watch, to let people know what facilities are in walking distance. And feel free to interrupt because I know I don't have that much time. Next. Great. And we talked about vulnerable populations. We definitely focus on them here in Los Angeles because pre-existing health conditions really exacerbate, the damage that extreme weather can do. Most materials that I've seen don't actually identify pregnant people. They also don't identify necessarily those with various chronic illnesses. We've always historically focused on the elderly and on children, but there's so many more nuances of people that need protection and people that need advanced planning to ensure that they stay safe, out of harm's way during extreme heat. Next. And this is just an example of some of the social media that we have out there, to ensure that people know that public libraries are a cooling center. We did a study that I'll share with you soon called Turning Down the Heat, with UCLA graduate students, and they found that these most vulnerable communities didn't know. The vast majority did not know that they can and should go to their public libraries and public facilities for refuge from extreme heat. So now I think one of our biggest challenges is to continue to do really effective outreach, targeted outreach in multiple languages. So we've actually translated our materials into 15 different languages. And honestly, there's about 100 different languages spoken in the city of LA. So that's just kind of like scratching the surface of the most spoken languages here. Next. This is an example of our materials, and I'd be happy to share these materials with any of you, any city. And if you want to use the graphics for your city, you're more than welcome to use the graphics and the materials for your city as well. And again, going back to the tools that we're using, we also have a climate vulnerability assessment. We also have a sustainability plan. And all of these tools, including university research that's very current, help us ensure that we are, targeting the most impacted communities and coming up with the kinds of investments and infrastructure changes that will reshape Los Angeles to make it livable, shoppable, walkable, and mobile for many years to come, hopefully forever. But that is our challenge, right, for all of us, is to ensure that our cities and our regions remain walkable, livable areas, because it would be devastating for not just for the economy, but for individuals not to be able to get out there and enjoy their communities. Next.
Marta, I just wanted to say, we've got a few questions in the Q&A.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but I don't want to interrupt you because I love this picture.
Okay, all right. I just want to show this picture. This is the bus shelters and the PSA campaign that we have on bus sides and bus shelters and the airport. And, if you have any questions about how we accomplish that, how we get that done, please feel free to reach out to me. And thank you again for this opportunity to share. Yeah, here to answer any questions. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I want to already thank all of the panelists. These are such exciting, and as somebody pointed out in the chat, hope-giving initiatives that you're all presenting. And it's easy to get bogged down in some of the challenges that we face as a state, as a bunch of communities being confronted by the reality of extreme heat. And so knowing how much we are all working to protect our communities and build resilience, I think is such an important thing to focus on. Our first question is from Martha Armas Kelly. She points out that her concern is that anytime we are told as a jurisdiction that there is a need for climate resiliency, the attempt from some communities is basic. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but she points out that she wants a baseline of needs that are being met for said communities, and getting beyond ticking boxes. We need better language to ensure that these mitigations are intentional and tangible. And so I was wondering if any of the panelists have thoughts about going from this abstract idea of climate resilience to very intentional, concrete, tangible actions that can perhaps be mandated.
So for the city of Colusa, and I know we're a small community, population and budget-wise to a lot of us here today. we kind of have the same thing as like the boxes in the language, because a lot of stuff doesn't apply to us or it's way too out of reach for us. And so I think translating what that is into it based on your community's need is really helpful, because that language may look different, or it definitely looks different for Colusa than it does for the city of Los Angeles. But Marta and I can have a conversation and find that common ground, and she can give me advice, or I can say, hey, Marta, I see you doing this in LA. Give me kind of some of the background to do it. So, and then when it comes to languages, we all have to follow the cadence of our local public agencies on how they write things. And sometimes if you're in a very antiquated code like I am, it is not fun and you have to rewrite it. But I try to work with translating policies and stuff that isn't written into easy to understand.
Marta?
Sure. I think tangible for us is, that cool spots map. We did it not just to identify what resources we had for the public, but also where the gaps were. And those are tangible because those are things like bus shelters, shade structures, cooling centers, hydration stations. And not only are they tangible for the community, but they let us know when something's not working, right? So that we can fix it. So they understand that it's important to let us know if a hydration station is broken so that we can fix it before heat season, for example. So that's an example of a very tangible set of amenities that we need to expand on, obviously. And cooling centers, you saw that there were some really big gaps of where there were no cooling centers. We hope to collaborate with community and resilience hubs that maybe can be funded by the state or others so that we can fill in those gaps of where we don't have cooling centers. But that's all going to be part of the conversation when we're doing our community engagement to develop the final heat action plan for the city of LA. And I'd also like to address Terry Saucier's question regarding artificial turf. I want to first thank her for her advocacy and her activism. She's absolutely right. Artificial turf is toxic. It causes injuries for those athletes, young and old, using it. There's a lot of studies and research about the cons of artificial turf, particularly when it's extremely hot because you can get burned. Our office was asked by the city council to develop a report with our position and our recommendations, and we've done that. I think the next step for the city council is to fund a study that will be more, an independent look at how we can ease out of using artificial turf as a city so that we can reduce that exposure, particularly during heat season. So thank you for asking that question. And I recommend that everybody go to our council file system and just look up artificial turf and you'll find our report for the city council and our recommendations.
Thank you so much. We have unfortunately only time for one more question. It's from Tom White, and the question has two parts. So panelists, please feel free to answer either one of those parts. For folks whose questions have not yet been answered, I wanted to let you know that we have your contact details from your registration, and we will be able to follow up with you separately. So we're not ignoring your questions, we're just trying to end on time. And I apologize because I would love to give everybody 20 minutes and answer all the questions. So the final question is, could the presenters speak to the subject of low-income renters' rights to cooling in their homes? How do we support affordable housing owners who do need to add cooling in their homes, but may not have the resources to do so?
As a community that has quite a few low-income renters, right now, as part of our plan, is we are assessing. So kind of like Talia and doing the survey, we are doing some case studies. We are working with PG&E and Pioneer Power to understand heat usage during heat waves and throughout the year to see when energy use comes up, to also get that feedback from the surveys and layer that in to understand what the barriers are. Is it needing new cooling centers? Is it financial? Does the city need to create a plan? So for the city of Colusa right now, we're just trying to get an understanding of what the effect is down as far as we can, so we can create a plan that serves our low-income renters and address renters' rights for our community.
At the City of Los Angeles, we have a public utility, LADWP, and they have been investing in providing electrification and decarbonization for pilot multifamily housing projects to see, to establish the baseline of how we can fund these more universally across the entire city and across the entire region. So that we can learn how to help landlords and how to help small mom and pop landlords as well to invest in this and what the added value is for them and what the cost savings is for them. In addition to that, we have studied the energy burden gap, and coalitions of organizations have really requested that LADWP address that issue. And as a result, we both have like a leveled payment plan. We have a plan for low income users, and we also have rebates. And in addition to that, we also have like a moratorium. We don't shut off energy during heat season for anybody, because we know it's a matter of life and death. So there's all of these programs that really come together from our public utility and the City of Los Angeles that create a safety net. And it's important to knit them together because it's very difficult for somebody who has, is in a low income situation, for them to study and navigate a system that is so complicated and complex. So we can't just offer solutions. We have to make it easy for these communities to access these solutions. And I think that's a challenge for most municipal governments, right?
Anybody else have anything to add? Leah and Jen, I want to make sure that you've got an opportunity to weigh in if you'd like to.
Thank you. Yes, we, as Martha mentioned, we do have the same program locally in our regional area, Ventura County, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo, which is the Regional Energy Network. It is an incentive for those communities to provide electrification and support, but we can definitely do more. Definitely, as a local government, we can explore other options.
I think we're forced to explore other options because we don't have the funding we once did from the federal government. So we all have to be creative together of how to reduce extreme heat. So there are low tech ways of reducing extreme heat, and we've actually had webinars and workshops about that in Los Angeles. And I think that that's an important thing to cover in our communities.
I think the theme of being creative together to solve these complex heat resilience issues is the theme that I'd like to end on, because fundamentally, that's what you've all shown us that you're doing at the state, regional, county, municipal level. These solutions are about creativity. These solutions are about collaboration. And if you are interested in continuing dialogues and information about the CalHeatScore project and state level heat resilience initiatives, I encourage you strongly to keep an eye out for information about the next webinar. It's going to be the 5th webinar in our series of 6 for CalHeatScore. This is happening on January 28th. It will also be at lunchtime. And I hope all of you who attended this session will be able to attend the next one. And thank you so much for giving us your time. And thank you so much for helping your community become more resilient.